Camila Cabello is a young artist who is on the rise right now after leaving Fifth Harmony like a few years ago and then going on to a solo career, and she has had a few hits, but most notably she has had a massive successful song in Havana, which was number one in the UK and like number two I think in the US. It's kind of taken over a bit over the past few months. I personally think it's a great pop song, honestly. So that compelled me to go into this album with a sort of high-ish expectation. I don't want to say a high expectation because I didn't know a lot about her. It was mostly just Havana's a great song, so I thought maybe the album could be great. It's a pretty short 10-track album. There is a remix, or no, sorry, a radio edit of the first song as the last track, as the 11th track, but I'm not going to count that because why would that need to be part of the album? I don't know. So it's basically just a 10-track straight pop album with not much to report, honestly. I listened to this quite a handful of times now. I barely get anything from it. I think the prowess that Havana has doesn't show on any other song on this album. Like this album, man, it starts off with Never Be the Same. It's just a very low-key song. But then, like, on the bridge, like, the pre-chorus, like, that sort of, like, lead up to the chorus of the song, her vocals are, like, horrendous. Nicotine, heroin, morphine. Believe me when I say that is literally how she's singing, like, I don't know what the fuck it is. Like, oh my god. Like, I just listened to it and just thought, oh wow, you know, she's demonstrated that she's a good vocalist. And then the first song on her debut album has vocals like that. It's just not a good start. I just can't believe it's the same singer that released a really peppy, you know, piano-driven, Latin-inspired Havana song to like an intro track that has nothing to it at all. Like the instrumental is so like dour, like there's nothing going on in this song that's interesting at all. I couldn't believe it when I first heard it. I was like, oh wow. Then it goes into the track All These Years, which has this plucked acoustic guitar at the start and throughout the song, and if you listen to it, it literally sounds the same as the song Starving by Haley Steinfeld, I think her name is, Steinween, blah blah blah. It's literally the same. Like she's basically took that song and turned it into her own song. Like it's literally the same. And then of course on the chorus it does switch up a little bit, but it just sounds like Love Yourself by Justin Bieber. Like it really sounds, the chord progression, the way like her vocals like are like flowing and then she stops and then carries on, like it's just the same pattern as the chorus on Love Yourself. Like I'm just like reminded instantly of that. So we have two songs already that are just so meh. Things do pick up a little bit on She Loves Control. It goes back to that more Spanish flair instrumental. It's pretty good, and Camila's voice on this track is pretty good too. I can't really argue with this song. It's not really something I'd return to though. It's just kind of okay. But in terms of what was the first two tracks, this is a massive improvement. Inside Out is a similar track that follows that kind of same sound. It's a very summery sounding song, so maybe this point of the year it isn't something that I'm that interested in a lot, but perhaps when it's in the right moment I think I could groove to this song, honestly. But I don't know what it is. It's just even these like more poppy sounding songs just aren't resonating with me. I don't know what it is. I just don't think they're quite as like vibrant. They don't stand out as much. They're kind of just there and they flow by without really leaving much of an impact. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's just the instrumental needs a bit more of like an oomph to it, because they're just pretty standard sort of Latin-ish sounding Spanish songs. Like I don't know what really Camila's bringing that's any different to what you'd hear from an actual like Spanish song. I don't know. Consequences is a pretty nice ballad. It's very personal. You get a bit of insight into some kind of relationship breakdown, which is pretty good. I do think it does stand on its own in the album in a good way, considering it's a bit different to the other songs. But yeah, you got to kind of wonder, there are a lot of songwriters on this album and on this specific song itself, so I do wonder if it's actually more of a song that she's kind of singing rather than it's actually personal to herself, but who knows, I could be wrong about that. And Real Friends is just like this basic acoustic plucked song that's supposed to be like one of those like vibing songs, but I just don't feel it. Like there are too many songs that sound like this on this album. Like it sounds very similar to All These Years. Like there's just not enough diversity in the production, honestly, on this album. Like it's basically just carbon copies of the same song over and over. Like I'm kind of bored at this point of hearing a song like this. I've got to kind of wonder if the producer really didn't add much flair to the sound that Camila Cabello could have had, because I don't know, I think there's a lot of talent here, but I think it's kind of being wasted on some pretty bland instrumentals. Frank Dukes is the producer of this album, the majority of this album anyway, and he is renowned for doing a lot of pop songs, but also producing some great songs as well. Like he's done some songs for Frank Ocean, Lorde, so he is a diverse guy. Like he can show that he's got some different ideas for everyone he works with, but on this album he's kind of just playing it safe, I think. Something's Gotta Give sounds like it came straight from a movie soundtrack, man. It's just so ridiculously over the top, dramatic, theatrical. The instrumental just irks me every time I hear it. The song after this is a bit similar, not quite as bad, but it's again just got this production that's just way too glitzy and glamorous. It's just not something I'm ever into. Again, it's not her style. I don't think the music she's working with here fits her, honestly. And then Into It is a closing track, and it's finally a point of the album where things spice up a little bit, because up until this point it's basically been flavourless. Like the majority of this album just has no like spice to it at all, but Into It is quite a good pop song. And it's interesting too, because I mentioned Lorde earlier, because Frank Dukes is producing most of this album, and you can hear the Lorde influence on this instrumental too. It sounds like it came from like melodrama. It could easily be like a song that you could compare to like Sober or Supercut. It's very similar to that sound, so I think Camila pulls it off quite well as well, considering the majority of this album's very similar in its sound, but then the final song switches it up, and even there she shows that she's got some good potential doing that sound as well. And it has some hit potential. I think this will probably be the next single, I'd imagine, or a single at some point throughout this album spell. But yeah, it's a shame that it took till track 10 to finally pick up and get something that makes me intrigued, because this album, man, it's so bland. It needed way more herbs added, some spices added, because it's just so tasteless. I don't know why I expected so much. It's a pop album. Generally, when a big pop star comes out with an album, you've got the singles, like the 2-3 singles, everything else is throwaway. But I just saw something in Camila Cabello that I think I still see in her. I think there's more to her than we've got on this album, so I think that's why I just wanted a bit more, because what we're getting here is a bit meh. Yeah, just a D+ for me. I'm not really feeling this at all. It's a shame. She's a great singer, some decent song topics here and there. Havana is still amazing, just nothing lives up to that. Let me know what you thought of this album, if you think it's better than I thought, if you think the same as me. Leave a comment, tell me if you think I'm wrong, and that's it. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the bell, the notification bell, whatever, and have a good day. Have a good day.